Macro counting, intuitive eating, which is best? Today, that's exactly what we're gonna cover. I get asked this question all of the time. Many people actually find their way to my website through an article that I was featured on livestrong.com a while back, where I decided to actually use macro counting to reverse diet myself, and also including heavy lifting, increase my muscle mass while staying really lean. It was a self-experiment. It was really fun, and it was one of the things that I just did because I felt like, why not? It might be fun. And so I get asked all the time, because a lot of women will come to me and say, well, it looks like what you teach in your courses and with your clients is more like intuitive eating, so how does macro counting fit in? And it's a really, really good question. So today I want to share with you some of the top questions to ask yourself and some of the pros and the cons related to macro counting versus intuitive eating, so you can ultimately discern which is the best for you. So let's dive in. First, for those of you who do not know what macro counting is, it's basically tracking your protein, carbs, and fat in grams every single day. So this is kind of like calorie counting, but you're counting the actual macros instead. This is not a new concept. It's actually been around for a really long time. It's actually just a trend that's sort of coming back into play. You may have heard of things like IIFYM, which is if it fits your macros, or maybe flexible dieting. It's kind of popular right now in the bodybuilding world. Intuitive eating is something that is not a new concept either, and basically what this is listening to your body and listening to your hunger signals and discerning what it means when you eat certain things and what you need to eat and how your body responds to things, and ultimately being able to eventually maintain your ideal body weight and optimal health through listening from the guidance from within. Now, there are experts that back both, that support either with research and even case studies, tons and tons of case studies. So, I mean, it's clear that there is no one right answer across the board. You can argue either way. So today I just want to throw out some of the pros and the cons of each that I have found on my own journey, both using them myself and with my clients. So number one, both offer flexibility in their own way. Macro counting offers the flexibility of being able to plan out your meals for the day based on your macros, your protein, carbs, and fat. Those are the goals that you want to hit every single day. And you'll have your plan set at the beginning of the day, and then you can choose those foods, whatever foods you want, according to just based on hitting your macros. So as long as you hit your macros, then you're good. The downside of this is that a lot of times people will get carried away and they'll end up eating a lot of packaged foods, and they think, well, I can eat cookies and cake and Pop-Tarts or whatever else. As long as I hit my macros, then I'm good, right? And the answer is no, you're not. You need to make sure that you are actually getting in those micronutrients that you get from whole foods, lots of veggies, fruits, things like that, because ultimately your body needs those things to thrive, to have energy, to sleep well, to have a good immune system. It's very important that you are getting in those micronutrients. With intuitive eating, it's actually the exact opposite of macro counting. So you can eat whatever you want, whenever you want, and you have the complete freedom to choose in the moment what feels best. Now, the downside of this is that for some people, this level of freedom can be way, way too much for them to be able to handle, especially if in the past they were used to counting calories, counting macros, even binge eating, things like that. It's like a pendulum, and I actually describe it like this. We have the two different sides. We have structure on one end, and then we have freedom on the other. And the structure would be restrictive eating, being very strict with what you're eating, being very planned out, and then freedom is on the other side, and that's where you basically have no rules. You just eat whatever you want. And this is very intuitive. This is very structured. This is very masculine. This is very feminine and really like leaning back and trusting. And so for some people to swing, if they were very strict, to swing all the way to the other end and be very free with intuitive eating, it can be too much. They freak out, and then they feel like they have to go all the way back to their very controlled, restrictive way of eating. And it can also lead to binges and all kinds of things. And so This is where you have to check in with yourself. If you know that that level of freedom is going to be way too much for you, it'd be like going from A to Z overnight, then you have to know yourself, and you have to know that that ultimately is not going to serve you very well, and it's not going to lead to you achieving and then sustaining your goals. So number 2 is that both offer an opportunity to learn about your body. With macro counting, you get to learn what works best for you in terms of protein, carbs, and fats. You get to look at what is actually in the foods that you're eating. You're looking at the packages, you're looking at the ingredients, you're looking at how much sugar and how much fiber, all of these different things that go into the foods that we eat that a lot of times we really just don't pay any attention to. So macro counting can be the next logical step for you if you have never really thought about the foods that you eat and what kind of protein, carbs, and fats are in the various food options. Macro counting also can help you to put together balanced meals. So again, you'll be able to see how much protein is in this, how much fat is in this, how much carbs is in this, and you might even be really surprised about the different foods that you eat on a regular basis. So you might then be able to swap things out and plug in other foods that lead to more balanced meals, which then lead to more satiety, more balanced blood sugar, so you feel less of those highs and lows with your energy throughout the day. So it can actually be a really great learning tool. With intuitive eating, you have the opportunity to start listening to your body. So much in life we are told and taught to outsource, to someone that is more of an expertise than we are. And when it comes to your own body, who knows you best, right? So when you practice intuitive eating, you're really giving yourself that permission to start paying attention, to start really listening to what your body is asking for, to start feeling into what foods work best for you and leave you feeling most satisfied. Now, with intuitive eating, it's almost like you're giving yourself permission to clear some space to experiment, and it is not an overnight process. So please do not expect yourself to receive results overnight. It will take some time, but I promise the more that you practice this tuning in, the more you're gonna feel in control no matter what. I call this mastering your inner expert. Number 3 is that both offer you the opportunity to feel in control, or on the flip side, out of control. And here's what I mean. Both of them are simply a tool. It's almost like we're wearing a tool belt and we have all of these different things to choose from based on where we're at in our own unique journey. Either of them can help to support getting you to your goals, but you have to make sure that you're using whatever tools you choose to use from an empowered mindset rather than from a disempowered mindset. And when I say disempowered, mainly what I'm saying is that if you are using each of these tools because you're scared or because you think you need this in order to achieve your goals and it comes from a very lack-based place, you're probably not going to get to your goals. But if you use them from a mindset of self-discovery, self-love, and even from this mindset of curiosity or like what if, almost like I did when I played around with macro counting, then that's going to set you up for success on so many levels beyond just the structure part, but also on an emotional level too, because you're excited versus fear-based. And that's a whole nother conversation for another video, and I talk about that a lot on my website. But how you feel about whatever you're doing makes a huge, huge difference. Another thing to pay attention to with this idea of control versus being out of control is neither one of them is a license to check out. And I see this time and time again with both of them, where people will say macro counting is the answer. I have to count macros. It's what's freed me from binge eating. But then those same people, months or a year down the road, will then say, you know what? I realize now that I basically just replaced one addiction with another, and I became obsessed with counting macros. And I was a prisoner to my scale, my food scale. I was a prisoner to getting online and planning out my food every single day, and I wouldn't go out to certain restaurants if I didn't know what the macros were gonna be in different foods. And it becomes this very fear-based type of a thing, where you feel like you need to have control. Meanwhile, you don't really do anything else in your life. And to me, that does not feel like freedom or fun or any of the other feelings that I want to feel on a daily basis in my life. Now, with intuitive eating, it can be very much the same, where you start practicing this new way of eating and showing up, and you say, oh my gosh, this is the answer, this is my magic pill, but then you end up flying way off the wagon, way more towards freedom than what you actually feel comfortable with, and you might gain weight. You might get to this place where you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore, is this the right thing? And you start to question things, and again, you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just stuck in another diet type of a thing. This is not the answer. Now I need to go find the answer. And here's one caveat there that I just want to mention on both of these points. So with the macro counting and getting super obsessed, and with intuitive eating and getting, way free and feeling like you have no sort of structure or guidelines, and you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. Maybe you're eating cookies all day because that's what you feel like your body is telling you to do. I just want you guys to know that in either case, it's not wrong to be in that place. You are taking the next logical step for you in your own unique journey. And I know I've said that a lot, but I'm going to keep saying it. Your journey is unique, and only you get to define what that path looks like, because only you know what it is that you want to experience in your life. So each of these different situations or experiences, although it may seem really bad or it may feel really uncomfortable in the moment, it actually is often the next logical step for you in discerning what it is that you actually want. We know what we want most when we've experienced what we don't want. I'm sure that you have had that before. I know I have many times in my life. So like I mentioned, if you've been restricting and you're way over here on this very structured, rigid side of the pendulum, if you've been restricting for a really long time, maybe if you've been eating 800 calories, 1,000 calories, and you know that you want to start eating more, and you know that you need to start taking better care of yourself, maybe macro counting is the next logical step for you in this pendulum. So maybe, here's structure, here's freedom. Maybe you're right here, and that's where macro counting is, and that for you is balance right now. It would not feel comfortable for you to go from 800 calories a day to eating cookies and ice cream and all kinds of food all day, every day. You're gonna feel like a crazy person. That's A to Z. So what's the next logical step for you? That might be macro counting. And what I say is this, every step is a bridge to the next, to the next, to the next step. Where you are today, where you might have been yesterday, is not where you're gonna be forever. That's just where you are right now. And a lot of times people will ask me, are diets bad? Is Weight Watchers bad? And I'll tell them no, because a lot of times that really is the first logical step, the first step for people in discovering what optimal health looks like for them. And we have to have these experiences that help us to discern and discover what it is that we really want for ourselves. When it comes to intuitive eating, I've had some women say that, oh my gosh, this is my savior. This is what I needed. I needed to listen to my body. I needed to get into my body. But then later on they'll say, but I haven't lost the weight yet. What do I do? I still want to lose the weight. And one of the things I tell my clients is weight loss goals or physical goals, they're not bad. It's not bad for you to have physical goals. I just want you to approach them from this mindset of self-love and self-discovery versus from that mindset that I mentioned of lack, not good enoughness, feeling ashamed of your body. That's not going to serve you, and that's not helpful. So what we do is this. If you are on this place on the pendulum swing where you're very much in this intuitive eating space, but you're thinking, okay, I need a little bit more structure, you can pull back. You can look at your macros if you want to, but don't do it from this obsessive place. Do it from this place of curiosity and really understanding, am I getting enough protein every single day? Am I getting in enough healthy fats? Am I getting in enough fiber? Maybe you're not. Maybe there are certain things that you can do to just start to discover the areas where you might want to fill in the gaps with whole food options, really making sure that you are getting in those micronutrients, and then you'll be at that place where you can set it and forget it. And maybe you're over here where it's you have some level of structure. Maybe it's macro counting, maybe it's meal planning, maybe whatever it is for you, just setting some sort of guidelines, but you are more so on this side of freedom, more intuitively listening to your body. You are very tuned in to what your body is asking for because you've been practicing this stuff and really listening for a while. So that you can see that there is a place for both of them. Neither one of them is wrong. And that's, I guess, the message that I want to get across more than anything else, is that none of these tools that we have are wrong. Just like I say, no food is wrong. It's all inclusive. We're at the buffet. We get to choose what we put on our plate. And what I put on my plate today might be different than what you have on your plate, or it might be different than what I had on my plate 5 years ago, or what I'll have on my plate 2 years from now. It becomes this really fun, exciting journey when you start to look at our options, not as overwhelming, not as, oh my God, am I doing it right? I've got to Google and find out, but like, what feels good to me? What do I need to do for my body to nourish it best? And this is the hybrid approach that I teach in all of my courses with my private clients, and it's really the underlying message that you'll see in all of the different articles and videos on my website. So if you feel like you need more help, then I encourage you to head over to my website. You can go to sheilaviers.com/shop, and you can jump right into my free video series, which is all about breaking free from yo-yo dieting so you can feel amazing in your skin. Or if you know that you want to get started today, then you can begin right away with my Rock Your Dream Body Feel Amazing 6-week course. And that's available on that shop page as well. Now, the last option is if you know that you need one-on-one support and you want to work with me specifically, then you can apply for one-on-one private coaching with me. Now, I only have 2 spots available right now in my private coaching, so you can go ahead and apply on that same page as well. And if your application is accepted, you'll get an email from my team. We'll set up a discovery call and we'll go from there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got so much from it. Please hit the like button, and if you really did get value from it, I would love for you to share it with a friend that would benefit from this message too, because I really do think it's something that a lot of women are looking for right now and would benefit from, and just really helping them to get out of their heads into their body and feeling amazing in their skin.